Hi everybody, welcome back to the Carver's Woodshop. Normally I'm always behind the camera now and I'm in front of the camera. The reason I'm doing it this way is that if you ask any questions, I can see them online. I'm going to wait a little bit, maybe a few other people will come on. What I'm going to discuss today is how to price your items, how to do shows, where to go, where to find them, and things like that. So one of the things that I think is important to remember is a lot of people try to price their items when they do wood carvings with just a figuring it out per hour, and it doesn't work that way per hour. You have to, you'll never get paid really what it's worth unless you feel confident enough that that's how much it's going to cost you. And so one of the things that I have found, I just see a couple of people popping up here. We're going to go over some ways of pricing your carvings. Normally I'm behind the camera, I'm in front of the camera. I decided to do a fireside or a wood side wood stove thing here today. It's really cold outside and it just feels good to be up against that. Since I wasn't going to teach anything in carving itself, but what I am going to go over is how do you price your items, how do you go to shows, how do you pick your shows and where to go, and a couple other things. So what I usually do, my pricing is, and these aren't quite done yet, I do it per inch. I don't do it per hour. I don't do it, I do this size, always the same amount for each of these 2.5 inches, run $28. And it doesn't matter if they're very intricate or if they're not. That's the flat fee that I put on them. And I've had it the same way for a number of years. I don't think I've ever boosted it up. I feel $28 is a nice amount for me to get for my carvings. Now, some people do it per hour. It's really hard to figure that out because they always say, well, how long does it take you to do a piece? Well, sometimes it takes me 2 hours to do one, and maybe an hour and a half to do one, of the ornaments, I mean. That's not including the painting. So if you have the painting to add to that, it just adds more time to it. So I figure usually about a couple hours to cut to as a total, about 2.5 hours to do one. So if you figure it out, it's a little over $10 an hour. It's not, you can't make a living on that, I understand that, but that's how I price all my stuff. If I have something this large, this is one of my collections that I kept, the Windy Santa. This is about 8 inches high, so I go somewhere around $80, $85 for this particular kind. Now, these take a lot longer, of course, to do than these, but if I really stack these, I might get 3, right? And if I was getting $25 or so, rounding it up, you would make around the same amount of doing a large one. So that's how I price my items. And it's, some people can't part with their carvings. Other people, it's very easy to part with them. Some people don't want to sell them. They want to give them away as gifts and things to people. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're pricing it, for instance, this one's a 3.5 inch. They go anywhere around 38. I do it a little higher because that's including the tax and all the other stuff that I have to put together. Painting always takes a long time. As many of you know, I don't care to paint, but, I do it every so often. I have to, so I make sure I have a gathering of carvings to do it. And I do one color at a time and like a production thing, but it never gets done in one sitting. You get fatigued a little bit, you stop, and you do it the next night. But as far as pricing, that's how I do it. I do $10 an inch, usually maybe a little bit more than that. You can go to $11 if you want. But that's how I price my things. And there are some carvers that will ask hundreds of dollars for a piece, and sometimes they can get that. I'm not the one that will do that. If you're going to ask any questions, you can. I can see the screen from here. That's why I have it turned towards me instead of it turned the other way. So if you have any questions about pricing or, how to price, that's the only thing I can tell you is do it per inch is how I do it. And it's pretty consistent. And it does sell. I'm most of the times they sell pretty well. The other thing, people have been wanting to know, how do you get into a carving show? Well, I don't do bazaars because I find bazaars are different. The markets are really funny. So if you go to a carving show, you have hundreds of carvers there, 50 or 60 vendors, and, some people just show their pieces as an exhibit. Other people, they want to sell. So I try to pick things that fit my product. So if I have this, which is a Santa, and I have a bunch of other things that are like snowmen, birds and what I carry now, I would always go to a craft show. I don't go to bazaars. I don't find that many of the bazaars, you can't get the money out of it. They're looking for $10 and less a lot of times. And I just went to the local craft show here, like a bazaar at our fire hall. And the lady there was very, very, very interested in how to do other shows. This was her first one. She was pricing herself so dirt cheap that I really felt bad for her. She has to pay for the table. The cost of going to a show can range anywhere from $25 up to $100, $150. I paid as much as $150 for a 3-day show. Some people pay more, some people pay less. It depends where you go. As a wood carver, you have the advantage because you probably don't have a lot of wood carvers going to a craft show. In this area, there's very few wood carvers that sell their items outright like I do. Yes, I am interested in mailing a piece. Okay, the client I always add the shipping to it, not tax because it's already included in the price. And I go with Shippo. It's called Shippo. And you can do the labels easier on Shippo, and it's cheaper. They give you all the different places that you can mail from, and then I just take it to the post office already pre-mailed and pre-labeled and put it on there. The other thing is, when you're at a show, a lot of people wonder if, how do you get money? Some people just do cash, and I find a lot of people don't carry cash anymore, especially the younger crowd does not bring any. Usually they do a digital wallet or credit card, and I go with Square. A Square it costs me a little bit of money every year to have it, but it is worth having it. You can do it right through your phone. It works very well that way. You can set up your own store, as many of you have seen my store with all the different items on it. And that works really well for a lot of people. So Shippo is one way of doing it. You can go to Etsy, but I have not found a lot of luck with Etsy. I found some luck on eBay, but that's questionable. And their prices, their fees to sell things on those networks are pretty high. So what you want to do is try to find something that isn't, if you can go to a craft show, yeah, you can make some money. Maybe you don't make any. It's really, it's a shot in the dark a lot of times. If you decide to, thank you, Richard. If you decide to do a show, it's good to have some kind of way of taking a credit card, some kind of way to be able to ship it. And I always add the shipping to it. But if you go with Shippo online, what they do is they take your credit card, and then when you sell a bunch of stuff and you're mailing a bunch of stuff, they take it out like once a month or every 2 weeks. They'll just put it on your credit card, which is really nice because I can print the labels here, I can get it all ready, and then I take it to the post office and just hand it to them. When you do credit cards, some of these places are charging 3 or 4% to use a credit card. The whole idea behind the credit card versus getting a regular check is you are guaranteed the money, for your sale versus a check that might bounce. And so it's really a service of protection for the business owner to use the credit card. And I don't charge a 3% more. Some people do, and I find it, if they do, a lot of times I won't do business with them because I think that should be in the price. That is the cost of doing business. And shipping, how you ship it, it's all entirely up to you. I use regular bags, and I put them in, and I, put some padding around it, and I ship it out. Doing the shows, the first time I did shows, and let me back up a little bit. When I first did shows back in 2010, I actually did 10 shows in 1 year. And some of them weren't worth going to again, and I narrowed it down to 3. I now narrow it down to 1 if I go, because I don't have enough inventory anymore. I have enough to do my Saturdays before Christmas, and that's pretty well it. I hope to get into it again. I'm going to revamp the pop-up that I have. So I did it a couple of different ways. You can do outside shows, you can do indoor shows, and people don't realize how much work goes into doing a show. You first got to pack everything, then put it in your car. Then when you get to your destination, you got to take it out of the car, unpack it, and display it. After you're done, you pack it back in, put it back in the car, and then you put it back into the shop. Now, people that do it every week, it's not a big deal. They're very, they just, they have a system to it. And every show, I never set it up the same. That's the other thing. Usually if I am indoors, it's different than if I'm outdoors. I used to use a pop-up tent, or not a pop-up tent, but a easy-up tent when I first started doing outdoor shows. And that's okay, but I found the ground was damp a lot of times. If you had a lot of rain, it wasn't a good setup to do it that way. And people don't want to come into a tent. So I learned a long time ago, you put your products out at the edge of the tent, you get inside the tent. Okay, and when they're walking by, they don't have to step in. They can see all your products without stepping in. Because if they have to step in somewhere, they're not going to do it. They're going to back off a lot of times. The other thing I also did later on was, many of you saw my pop-up camper that I converted into a vendor. And it kind of fell apart, and I've got to put it back together. And my cousin Jack, if he's watching, we're going to do something with the pop-up camper that I had, because I really want to be able to do that again very soon. And if you're not sure about what it looks like, I'll post it on Facebook here after I'm done. I'll show you what that pop-up looks like. It's very handy. The nice thing about the pop-up is I sat inside, had the tables on the outside, and it was just very, hi Jen, and hi Heather. That's nice that you're watching. Oh, you like my sweatshirt? Oh, let me just share this with you. I got this ordered, right? And the back is even nicer. Let me show you. There you go. It's a picture of my carvings. So hopefully you saw that. But anyway, when I had the pop-up, it came in very handy, because Shady Maple a few years ago asked if I would come and be part of their Midnight Madness sale. And they wanted crafters, and they used to have somebody who was a chainsaw carver. Well, it's noisy and it's messy. So they asked if I could come, and I was right at the front entrance. It was a fantastic time. But see, when I worked inside, all my chips went on the floor. I didn't have to worry about if I dropped any tools behind, if, that was the beauty of it. And I had people ask me if I would build them one. No, I had enough with the one, and I needed to revamp the one I have now. And that's going to be our project, Jack, when you come. And I think, too, and I notice a lot of people are using a vendor a lot for food, but not so much for crafts and things like that. And it's really interesting, the reaction I got, mainly from men who said, "Oh, that's a pretty cool idea you did with the pop-up camper. Would you consider making one?" I go, "Oh, no. I had enough with the one." So that's one way I do the outside. The beauty of the pop-up camper is you lower all your stuff to the floor, you lock it up, and if you have a 2-day show like I usually have up at Hay Creek at the Apple Fest in the fall here above Morgantown, I could just put everything on the floor, and it was fine. So, I could lock it up. I didn't have to worry about wind. I didn't have to worry about rain. The one year it rained so bad, they actually canceled it. I mean, everything was a mess. And I didn't have to worry about the tent blowing over or, not standing. If you have a pop-up camper, it works really, really well. Any other questions at all? Hello. Oh, from Australia. Hello, Heidi. I'm seeing these people pop in. I see there's Mike and Linda Barnes and Heather and Heidi and Jen and Jack are there. So I've got Canadians and people from Australia. And I really want you to be encouraged by doing a show. It can be very, if it doesn't work the first time, try a different show. Give you an example. I've tried 3 years in a row to open up my camper here before the day after Thanksgiving. And I'm going to be honest with you, nobody showed up. And I kept thinking, well, there's only 3 Saturdays in December. Should I continue doing it? Well, yeah, because I find that people will start in December. And I've tried this 3 times, and every time I had the same result. I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I did it different years. I didn't do it year after year. So you really have to test it. But don't let that discourage you, because I'm assuming people are getting ready. The other thing that is really, really important to understand when you do these shows, the very first show I ever did in my life was a Lancaster County woodcarving show. And I was so excited. I spent months preparing things and getting things ready. I mean, months. I made $187 that whole weekend. I was so discouraged from it. And I realized that you never know. What sells today may sell tomorrow. You don't know. I've had these ugly, I couldn't stand these little, I don't know if you remember, I did these little creepy looking pumpkin faces. And I couldn't stand them, but they all sold. Somebody liked them and bought them. So, I never put the year that I make it, because when people pick it up, oh, that's 4 years old, blah, blah, and they don't want to buy it. So don't put a date on it unless they ask you to put a date on it for when they buy it. It's fine. And somebody said, how much inventory should one have to begin with the first starting to go to shows? I usually have 100 pieces, if not more, for any one show. And usually, because I backed off of carving the last 5 years since COVID, when I took a break, I thought it was going to be only a month, and it ended up being months and years. And I only get about 30 or 40 done extra a year now. But I was up to 230 pieces, and I was cranking them out all summer, almost from the time Christmas was over from the year before until Christmas. And once Christmas is over, people think, well, I'll just wait till now. You can't do these carvings like in October and expect to have 20 or 30 or 40 of them. You really need to get these carvings done way beforehand. Selling them online is fine. Selling them at shows are fine. I wouldn't go to bazaars because bazaars are more, they're not, you won't get the price for your stuff. Maybe some bazaars you might, depending the area. You know, if you go into a ritzy area, like if we head down towards Philadelphia, you know, you might get that price at a bazaar, at a church, or wherever. But I find most times you don't get the prices. It's more craft shows. And also, when you go to a craft show, you want to make sure that when you go to one, you know, ask them how many wood carvers are in there. You know, so ask if you're the only wood carver, because a lot of times I'm the only one that shows up. And especially at the one Apple Fest, I was the only wood carver, and I found many people not only became students of mine, but regular customers over time. So there's a lot to doing shows. There's a lot to doing prices. You just got to kind of go out there and figure out which is your best. Now, there's one show I was invited to, was the Philadelphia Marketplace, and it's in the middle of Philly. And they wanted somebody there from Black Friday until Christmas. And I'm there like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. First of all, I don't have the inventory. And but leave yourself open. If you get invited somewhere, you know, it doesn't hurt to talk to these folks. I did get to talk to a few people. I talked to somebody at the Devon show, a horse show, but my stuff doesn't work well with a horse show. I know I have Christmas stuff. I don't have anything with horses on it other than the donkey from the nativity set. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you just tuned in, the way I price mine is per inch. I do $10 to $11 per inch, and that's pretty consistent all the way through. I don't worry about how much detail is in it. I don't worry about how long it takes me. When they're done, that's how I price them. And some people have done it that way. Some people price them per hour. No. Some people, you can do that, but that's not a real good way of doing it. So if you're interested in anything else that I can help you with, you know, if you go to a show, make sure you have a credit card, a way to ship it, you know, and cash on you. And I just read just recently that most young people will not be carrying cash. They will be carrying a digital wallet. And that seems to be the thing now. I also take checks. If they're local, I take checks. I don't have a problem with that. I guess I'm old school that way. So, but, well, folks, that's about all I have to give to you today. I know that's a lot to digest. And hopefully I'll have another project next week that we can start on. And I still have to, Jen, we do not have e-transfer here as payment. One way you can pay it in the States is if your bank takes Zelle. And if your bank takes Zelle and the other bank takes Zelle, you can do it through like an e-transfer. I like the way they have it in Canada. You just need an email and you can just send it. Vimo, I don't know that much about Vimo. There are some things that that I don't understand. Some of that. There's other cash apps that I don't like to do too much other than what I'm comfortable. One thing I will also say, if you do anything like PayPal, I used a separate checking account for that, and I only put so much money into it in case it ever got hacked. So that is something to think about. If you're opening anything and say you're doing SD or something, make a separate account at the bank and just put whatever amount of money, a couple $100 in it. So if somebody hacks it, they can't take all of it. It's not as prevalent, I think, as it used to be with just the credit cards. But yeah, it's definitely some things to think about. All right, folks. I will be open Saturday, and I'm hoping for a better day. So, and if not, that's okay. It's all fun anyway. I'm not doing it to make loads of money. It's just something I like to do, and if I make some extra money at it, that's the way to do it. And that's why I want to keep this as fun. I don't want to make it into, quote, a business that I have to make money at it. And once it becomes a business, then it becomes work, and to me, it's not fun. All right, so take care. Thanks for joining me. I know we had quite a few people tonight pop in, and to all the Canadians, I hear you have lots of snow. It was snowing here this morning, but it turned into rain and a mess and sleet and all that. So we'll let you go and have a great week ahead. All right, bye-bye, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'll have something that we can do. All right, bye-bye.